Hello and welcome back to Salisbury and Sweetnam Sports Podcast. It feels like it's been an absolute age since we last did one. James has been travelling the world with the university. He's got as far as Salford on his plight to be a broadcast journalist by the end of his career or degree. Europe have won the Ryder Cup since we last spoke on the podcast, and also a lot of other things have happened in between. So without much further ado, welcome back, James.
Well, thank you. I'll tell you what, that introduction was absolutely fantastic. It tailed off a little bit towards the end, but in bulk, I think it was good. Firstly, how are you? What have you been up to since I've been gone?
I haven't been doing too much, to be honest. I've just been pottering around all day, every day when I'm not in university. I do some work when I'm not in university. And I just chillax. I'm living a highly enjoyable life, a life within myself. How's your life in Greater Manchester?
Well, I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I think the course is very good. Obviously, the broadcast side, I do this podcast, all sort of like throughout school. Always love the presenting side, so that side of thing, all perfect. Yeah, so I'm quite enjoying it, of course. You popped down to Salford the other day to give me a visit at my university accommodation. What did you make of that?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the trip. I only spent a couple of hours there. Probably got there at about 7:30 PM and left at about 1:30 AM. So yeah, a cracking time had. The alcohol flowed. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it, yeah. Yeah, university I think's alright. Of course, I don't think I'm necessarily the stereotypical university student.
What makes you say that?
I just feel like... uni students are very stereotypically strange.
They are, yeah. And they all tend to dress like those in Home Alone.
Yeah.
These like sort of brown suede jackets with trousers that clearly don't fit, and the odd colouring in hairs and the odd rip in clothing, which in my opinion is wrong, but in their opinion is wholly fine.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because it seems like roles sort of reverse at university. So I always felt comfortable high school sick, so thoroughly enjoyed my time. And of course, like, for example, if like you're sporty or whatever at high school, you're going to do well. But it seems at university things are switched around. So I was at a radio thing the other day, right? Going down to see, who can put a podcast on for the student radio, right? So I asked a lad, what do you want to do your podcast on? And he said D&D. So I gave him a bit of a baffled look as to what on earth is D&D. He gave me one of the filthiest looks back before exclaiming, "You don't know what D&D is? Dungeons and Dragons?" I can't believe it. How on earth am I meant to know what Dungeons and Dragons is? And why am I living in a world where I am looked down upon for not knowing what Dungeons and Dragons is?
Yeah, that sounds like an absolutely terrible situation.
So obviously I picked him up and he went through the window.
Yeah, I can
imagine. Had to deal with it that way.
I take it you sent him and his greasy hair, presumably. I've never seen this person.
It wasn't necessarily greasy,
through the window,
but it was long. Very long.
It's quite impressive that it wasn't greasy. In my
well, yeah, opinion. I suppose. It wasn't Roman Reigns-esque.
No. But
yeah.
Ultimately,
yeah,
you probably wouldn't catch Roman Reigns in a D&D session.
Well, you never know. But yeah, he then went on to tell me that he just isn't used to being around people who don't know what D&D is. So I don't think I was spending much more time with that particular individual.
Is he doing journalism?
He's not, no. He was, I don't know what subject he's doing, actually. I just happened to be at the student union thing, and he was there.
So you're not going to do the podcast on D&D?
No, I don't think I will be doing a podcast on D&D. My knowledge on anything within that realm is relatively limited. I'm not entirely sure how Dungeons and Dragons works anyway.
Well, it's all
clearly... Is it a board game or is it online?
No, I think it's like just making up stories and like fantasizing, using their inner imagination, bringing that out. I think it's healthy.
Well, yeah. I suppose I might be doing Dungeons and Dragons a disservice here because I don't overly know what it is or what it's about.
I actually think it's the most disgraceful thing on earth.
Yeah, Luke, do you know what Dungeons and Dragons is?
I think you use just like a piece of paper and you write stuff down and stuff. I don't know.
I'm absolutely baffled. Luke,
Google it.
yeah, Luke, Google what Dungeons and Dragons is for me, please, and we'll come back to that slightly later on, I suppose. So anyway, yeah, flatmates, I get along with them well. All third years, so the going out's been limited, but yeah, get along with them all well. I think you get on along with them relatively well as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We were doing our bit for foreign affairs the other night. James is has a flatmate who originates from Lithuania, Vilnius, a lovely part of the world. And we also took Shaylin along for a trip, so a very stereotypical Indian man came along. So yeah, a very cultural feel.
Are you acting like you're bringing two cultures together?
Absolutely.
Right, okay.
A cultural feel in Salford between some Prestonians, an Indian, a Lithuanian, and
a lad with a perm.
Well, yeah, he's a Prestonian, but also a really posh-sounding female from Bradford. Remarkable.
Right, okay.
It's like a black having a small penis. Just totally wrong.
Well, thank you for that analogy, and we'll move on away from the potentially racially provocative comments. So anyway, let's talk about the mixed martial arts. Huge weekend for the sport. UFC 229. Conor McGregor comes back off a 2-year layoff to take on the world champion Khabib Nurmagomedov. Now, firstly, you're looking in as a casual fan, Adam. What did you think in the build-up? Were you excited for this fight at all? Did it grip you, or did you just go along to watch it due to the fact that your friends were watching it?
So if you're pardon the pun, I'm not going to hold any punches. I wasn't overly keen for the event. I went because it was something to do. I don't like excuse me, I've got a speech impediment if you haven't noticed.
And I'm just going to interrupt you briefly because Dungeons and Dragons is where you and your friends tell a story together, guiding your heroes through quests for treasure, battles with deadly foes, daring rescues, courtly intrigue, and much more. And that was a reference to the intro, so if you've just come from MMA, that's going to make no sense whatsoever.
No. Anyway, getting back to it, no, I wasn't overly interested. However, I don't like missing huge sporting events, so I decided to stay up, I decided to watch it. So, I wouldn't call myself a casual fan, I'd call myself a sports lover who decided to watch it.
Yeah. Well, it's good that you're broadening your horizons, so to speak. But anyway, yeah. So,
I have a broader amount of sports that I enjoy, to be fair.
Yeah, that's good. Well done to you.
Thank you.
So anyway, UFC 229. Obviously, it was a big one. You know, Dana White, the president of the UFC, was saying that this could be the biggest selling pay-per-view of all time, and that's yet to be found out whether it was or not, but it was big, and it was gripping the casual fans. McGregor, of course, last year had that poor showing against Floyd Mayweather in the boxing ring, but he was back in the octagon for this huge fight. So anyway, a bit of the backstory. Khabib Nurmagomedov squares up to one of Conor McGregor's friends, Artem Lobov, crowds in with a lot of men, gangs up on him. Firstly, I think that's massively wrong from Khabib because it's never good to effectively bully someone.
From Khabib?
Yeah. Artem Lobov was on his own and Khabib squared up to him with around 40 other Russians. This is what kicked off the thing before the bus incident.
I see. Right. Yeah, sounds terrible.
Yeah, it was. So anyway, Conor retaliated with the bus incident, which was also a disgrace, as there was multiple people who were completely innocent and had nothing to do with the situation. So, 2 wrongs, but they're going to settle the differences inside an octagon. We have the press conference, the trash talk's flowing. Did you see any of that, and what did you make of what Conor McGregor was saying?
Can't say I saw anything.
Right, so elements of Conor McGregor's trash talk quite good. Of course, he went very deep into Khabib's life in Russia, his family, his friends. A lot of it quite recycled, but it is what it is. He still gets the average viewer in to watch his performances. So anyway, we've got the main. It's really labelled as a grappler versus a striker matchup. So Khabib, if he takes McGregor down, McGregor's not going to have a chance. But if it stays on the feet, McGregor will obliterate Khabib. And that's exactly how I thought it was going to go. I thought that Khabib would be like a rabbit in headlights in the striking department. And I couldn't have been more wrong. I know that you obviously would have been sold the same narrative. Were you shocked to see Khabib land a huge right hand in the second round, which sent Conor McGregor to the deck?
I was to a certain extent, but ultimately this is combat sport. If you can't hurt somebody with a punch to the skull, then it's unlikely you're going to be as successful as being a world champion. And ultimately Khabib is a world champion, and therefore it didn't shock me a great deal. However, yes, I did receive the narrative that it was a strike against a grappler. And yeah, Khabib, I personally thought, put in a terrific display of both.
Yeah, he was excellent. Of course, you see it a lot of the time. This was just one example, but you have it as well with Michael Bisping and George St. Pierre, Stipe Miocic and Daniel Cormier, where the elite striker is so worried about being taken down that it gives the grappler opportunities to strike on surprise. And this is what happened to a certain extent. But anyway, Conor McGregor was mauled for 4 rounds before Khabib locked in the rear naked choke. He didn't get it on the neck, he got it just about on the jaw, and that was enough to submit Conor McGregor. And, of course, you were watching it with a lot of lads who were casual fans. What was the reaction as that happened?
Well, as the fight went on, they weren't overly surprised because ultimately Khabib was the dominant force on the ground, and ultimately McGregor was made to tap on the ground. So I think there was a sense of foreshadowing since the first round, really, that Khabib was going to ultimately stop McGregor on the floor. And that's what happened, so nobody was overly surprised. I'll tell you what I was surprised at, though, and that was how quickly McGregor tapped. I actually thought McGregor was this sort of heart of a lion, heart of a champion person. And for me, it didn't look like the arm was under the chin and around the neck and choking him. Yes, it would hurt the chin, obviously, crushing down on his windpipes, but ultimately, he could have given it a bit longer, surely.
Yeah, he's not overly renowned for that hot. I mean, he is sold on it by the executives at the UFC, but to those who know the sport, they know that he's looked for a way out in the past, and he did that once again against Khabib. He was dominated from start to finish. He had a bit of success in the striking department in the third round, but not enough to get him even close to winning a round. So anyway, where do we go from here? In regards to McGregor, I think you're looking at a third fight with Nate Diaz. In terms of Khabib, it could be a sell for what came shortly after the fight. So Khabib, he's choked out Conor McGregor, and it turns out the beef isn't over. This is more personal than potentially anything we've ever seen before in combat sport. Khabib jumped over the octagon to assault Conor McGregor's teammate Dylan Dennis, and it caused a huge melee outside the octagon, punches flying everywhere. Then members of Khabib's team were jumping into the octagon, assaulting Conor from behind. That is out of order, as far as I'm concerned. You shouldn't assault a man whose back is turned. I thought the whole thing was a bit of a disgrace and a black eye on the sport, but you see it slightly differently. I think you found it quite amusing, didn't you?
Absolutely, yeah. Look, it's ugly scenes that transpired, but ultimately, I personally think it's great for the sport. There's no such thing as bad publicity, in my opinion, especially when Conor McGregor is involved. So for me, I was highly amused. I was entertained by it. Probably more than the main event itself. It made me laugh out loud. So for me, great for the sport and just hilarious to watch.
Right.
It was carnage.
It was absolute carnage. It was seriously concerning, actually, because the amount of people that were going off and the amount of people who were highly trained in fighting that were going off at each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have it right, though. There's scraps in the stands at these events. There's scraps in the stands at all combat events. It's nothing necessarily different than that.
You say that, but when we see scraps in the stands at our events, it's drunk people who can barely throw a punch, whereas these people are extremely dangerous men.
They are, yeah, but we have seen some huge punches landed.
We've seen a couple, yeah. Yeah, but
ultimately, if you're looking to punch another person in the head, it's dangerous no matter what, whether you're able-handed or not.
Yeah, I know, but I feel a lot more comfortable staring across the octagon at somebody who drinks at the Stanley Arms than somebody that fights in the UFC.
I'm inclined to agree with that. However, they were also scrapping each other, if you know what I mean. So, like,
no,
teams of UFC fighters were fighting teams of UFC fighters.
I thought you meant teams of UFC fighters scrapping teams of the sort of clientele at the Stanley Arms.
In fact, would Team UFC be a better thing than current UFC? So, tag team or, like, Royal Rumble of UFC?
Yeah, but how far are we going to take this? Are we going to go for ladder matches, tables, ladders and chairs matches?
Why not? That'd be terrific.
Yeah, but we're also seriously risking death. But then again,
you're
after
risking death when you're punching people in the head when they're unconscious anyway.
Yeah, but I think there's less... I mean, obviously you can kill somebody if you punch them, but you're more likely to kill somebody if you smash them over the head with a ladder.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. However, ultimately, it's the most brutal combat sport out there, in my opinion. And last night, for example, there were plenty of people unconscious and still getting punched in the face. So it's not necessarily that much more dangerous. And therefore, we should be embracing hardcore.
What, bring back a hardcore championship?
Hardcore championship and get tables, ladders and chairs involved.
Yeah, but then you're obviously giving an advantage to the people like Brock Lesnar, who have experience in that said field.
It's a bit different though, because the people in that said field aren't resisting Brock Lesnar from putting them through a table. Whereas in UFC, they would be.
I don't think Braun Strowman's overly keen to go through tables.
Well, no, but
the Beast incarnate.
He's told what to do by the powers that be. Whereas UFC is just a, look, if you want to put it through a table, you go and do it.
Look, honestly, I can't see a world where we're getting tables sanctioned. But nice thought. So anyway, if Khabib does avoid a jail sentence, I know that multiple members of Khabib's team were arrested at the scene, but Conor McGregor chose not to press charges, and therefore I think Khabib will probably get away with the bulk of it, although his paycheck is currently being withheld. So, if he is to fight again, who is the next rightful challenger? That goes to a man known as El Kukui, Tony Ferguson. Now, I messaged at him during the co-main event last night to tell him that I believe that Tony is the greatest lightweight on the planet. It was a tremendous fight between him and former champion Anthony Pettis. Ferguson looked good in that opening round, evasive, unorthodox, extremely high work rate. He's got an excellent ground game as Ferguson, but Pettis caught him, sent Ferguson to the canvas, and Ferguson showed that survival instinct by surviving. And Anthony Pettis, who's in and around back at his best. Now, what did you make of that fight, Adam? Did you enjoy it, and did you see a bit of potential in Tony?
So I thought Tony Ferguson was a complete mentalist, actually. Like, smiling and stalking his prey. But yeah, look, it was a good performance from Ferguson. However, for me, if you're getting caught and wobble that badly, I think Khabib has got a chance of defeating Ferguson.
Yeah, the reason I give Ferguson such a good chance against Khabib is, obviously I know McGregor was better in the stand-up department as well, but Ferguson has that. But if Khabib does take Ferguson to the ground, Conor McGregor isn't renowned for his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game to find a submission. Tony Ferguson is, and when he's come up against dominant grapplers before, he's found submissions like he did against Kevin Lee. So if there's anybody who can find a way to beat Khabib on the ground and find some sort of way to pull off a submission, I'd have to give that to Tony Ferguson. So that's why I'd like to see that fight next.
I think it'll probably want to be one of the most boring fights of all time.
It could potentially, but off the back of UFC 229, I think it's very sellable, because I think Khabib's blown himself into the trash as a main star of the company.
I'm inclined to agree with that. It would absolutely be sellable, yes.
Yep, so moving on to another great fight. It was the Black Beast, Derek Lewis. And as an athlete who also suffers with lower back problems, did you find Derek's performance inspiring?
Not really. I thought it was a lacklustre display from Derek Lewis, actually.
Oh, he can barely move. He's borderline disabled in these bouts.
Well, he couldn't move, ultimately. Volkov absolutely dominated it for about 14 minutes of the fight. And then in the last minute, obviously, got tagged and knocked out. That's combat sport. But for me, unfortunate for Volkov, because I thought he put in a decent display up to that.
Yeah, he's meant to be the future of the heavyweight division, Alexander Volkov. And he might still be that, but ultimately it was Derek Lewis that found the huge right hand to put away Volkov. He basically felt like he couldn't be arsed for about 14 minutes, was constantly looking for excuses, and then with a minute to go just said, you know what, I'll have a crack, why not? And he found that crack, and he knocked out Volkov, and that sounds horrendous listening to it back. But yeah, he found the knockout. Well done to Derek Lewis. He'll get himself a world title shot now. He might have to wait a few months because, of course, Brock Lesnar's next in line, and then you imagine it will probably be Jon Jones, but we'll get on to him later. But Derek Lewis is in and around that title shot, and also decided that he'd expose himself in his post-fight interview by taking his shorts off and announcing that his testicles were hot.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. He'd exploded in the octagon, and I thought he'd he was going to explode in his shorts.
I don't think he takes fighting
Not sexually,
that seriously.
but just, you know.
That I just don't know what you mean.
Well, heat and the bubbled over of the testicles potentially exploding. Not sexually.
But they don't explode.
Well, no, but they were hot. So, connotations of being hot is a potential explosion.
Right, okay, I'm just going to roll with that. And we'll move away from the UFC briefly and on to the Bellator. Now, finally, we had a UK deal in place for the biggest fight in Bellator history. Gegard Mousasi, Rory McDonald, two men who've come really close to winning world titles in the UFC, are fighting in Bellator. It was the middleweight champion versus the welterweight champion. It was a huge fight with Rampage Jackson and Vanderlei Silva in the co-main, and the start of the welterweight Grand Prix is well on the card in San Jose. Now, we've finally got this big event televised in the UK. We don't have to watch a tape delay. So UK fans stayed up in their rafters to watch this card. And of course, there was a bit of controversy. Just as the main event was walking and Gegard was walking into the ring, boom! The Bellator's off. Peppa Pig is on. Watershed issues. They can't show Bellator after 6 in the morning. So those people who'd stayed up all night long to watch a bit of combat sport were absolutely livid to watch Mummy Pig and George Pig and whatever they're called play around in a swamp or whatever adventures they go on.
Well, to be fair, I overheard a conversation this weekend. It's funny you should mention that. That was basically a grown adult watches Peppa Pig and enjoys it.
Okay.
And doesn't have children.
Okay.
Just an extremely odd human. So they were probably...
Odd in what sense?
Just,
other than the fact that he watches Peppa Pig, has he got...
it's just odd. I mean, this is a grown man.
How
Peppa
grown?
Pig.
Are we talking 20s, 30s, 40s?
40s, 50s, I think, yeah.
40s, 50s and watches a bit of Peppa Pig?
So I think that particular person would have been delighted that Peppa Pig was picked over Bellator. In fact, I personally don't see it as too bad as an alternative.
I think it's a horrendous alternative when you've stayed up all night.
I
really do. I'm glad that I fell asleep ultimately because I would have been absolutely livid.
Did you wake up to Peppa Pig?
No, I fell asleep during the welterweight Grand Prix and then woke up in the morning, livid with myself, checked my Skybox to see if it had recorded. It hadn't. It only got halfway through the card. So I took to Twitter to find people in absolute disbelief that they were watching a child's cartoon over the combat sport. Quite saddening, actually, but talking about the actual fights, Douglas Lima progresses to the second round of the welterweight Grand Prix via rear naked choke in the 5th round. Two legends took to the octagon. Rampage Jackson finished Vanderlei Silva in the 2nd round. And in the main event, Gegard Mousasi proves once again while he's one of the best talents in the world, and he defeats Rory McDonald with relative ease inside the 2nd round. You can see the size difference there. But it's now winding up fans of combat sport because, of course, you've got Robert Whittaker, the champion in the UFC, Gegard Mousasi, the champion in Bellator. It's the first time ever where people are questioning, could the champion in Bellator be better than the champion in the UFC? You're talking the two best middleweights in the world here. Between them, they've cleared out everybody on the planet. We're desperate to see them fight each other, but unfortunately it's not to be because Gegard's in the wrong organisation, and ultimately there's not going to be many people who can push him there. So a bit of a shame, but it's good for Bellator that they're stacking these cards and progressing as they go along to become a mainstream competitor for the UFC. And we're moving on to the heavyweight Grand Prix, which is this weekend. Matt Mitrione takes on Ryan Bader on the first semi-final on Friday night. Excellent contest. Bader, the light heavyweight champion. Mitrione, some people think he should already be the heavyweight champion, but they're going to battle it out for a place in the final. And then a humongous fight Saturday night, Barclays Center, Brooklyn. The American gangster Chael Sonnen takes on the consensus best heavyweight of all time in Fedor Emelianenko. I love the gangster, and I'm praying that he can come through this weekend. I think he's a superior grappler, and I know there's a size disadvantage that he'll have going in, but I'm hoping he can take Fedor down, come away with the win. Of course, he was 15 seconds off defeating Anderson Silva for the middleweight world title in the UFC. It wasn't to be. He was caught in a submission. Hopefully, we finally get to see him reach the pinnacle of the sport. Anyway, Jon Jones is back. His suspension is officially 15 months long, so he's available to come back into the sport, I believe, at the end of October. A lot of controversy surrounding that, whether it's just been a bit of a dirty deal between USADA and the UFC to get him back. Also, Adam, interesting to get your take on this. So, Jon Jones fails a steroid test. So, 4-year suspension he's facing. USADA, United States Anti-Doping Association, go, look, John, you can have the 4-year ban, or we'll just give you 15 months. But if you find out about anybody taking steroids, you have to grass them up to us. And of course, he's getting a bit of stick off the UFC community. But would you take that deal if you were a fighter in his situation?
If I was Jon Jones, I personally would have retired. But ultimately, I don't like grasses particularly anyway. But if you're desperate to fight, of course you're going to take that deal on. So for me, I think it's probably the correct decision from Jon Jones. We see a lot of criminals doing this. And to me, that's what Jon Jones is.
Yeah, Jordan Belfort won. The Wolf of Wall Street. There's a lovely example for you. Yeah, great movie.
Rest in peace.
Not dead, Jordan. Still living in Australia, I believe, actually. Doing a few seminars.
At University of Melbourne.
I don't know if it's at the University of Melbourne. I'd assume not, as you have completely made that up.
Correct.
So it really will be a stab in the dark. Anyway,
Racist.
It's not. Anyway, last mixed martial arts topic. BT have been excellent for the sport of the UFC, but unfortunately, it's going to be moving over to a streaming service called 11 Sports. Of course, fans aren't particularly happy about this, but apparently it's going to be drip-fed onto your Skybox and Virgin Box, so hopefully fans can keep up with the competition. Final bit of UFC news. Who's going to headline the Madison Square Garden card? We need a big event. Of course, there was rumours about Jon Jones fighting on the card, Colby Covington fighting on the card, quite a few big names. They eventually settled on a title fight between Valentina Shevchenko and Sijara Eubanks. There's been a huge fan uproar about this. That it should be Nate Diaz and Dustin Poirier headlining the card. But they are desperate to fight at 165 to make a new weight class. The UFC aren't overly keen about this, but fans are, because ultimately there's so many missed weights in the UFC because it's just too big a difference between each weight category. So a few more weight categories, make it a bit safe for the fighters. I think it's the best way to go forward, but they don't want to be told to do by a Diaz brother. Moving on to the football, controversial week. Cristiano Ronaldo has been accused of rape, dating back to 10 years ago. It's a deeply saddening issue to be brought up. I don't want to judge on whether he has or hasn't done this, because unfortunately we don't have the information yet. But I don't know if you've been following what's going on. Do you have a gut feeling about anything, or do you have any opinions on the current situation?
I'm not willing to give a gut feeling because I think it's wrong. Innocent till proven guilty, I always campaign for. Look, it's not an ideal thing to be in the news for Ronaldo. I'm sure he'd just rather get on with his football after he's relocated to Italy. Not ideal, but hopefully this can all be resolved and justice can be served if required. Yeah.
I'm not saying for 1 minute that Cristiano's done this or hasn't done this, because I just don't know. But I feel there was a serious issue with what Juventus tweeted out the other day. They played quite largely off the fact that the issue was going back 10 years. There's a lot of women that don't feel that they can come out and discuss things that have happened to them, whether they're scared or for whatever reason. So you can't dismiss a case saying that because it happened so long ago that it didn't happen. That is by no means ethical. Some women just don't feel brave enough to come out and say what they say because they're emotionally scarred. So she has been brave enough to come forward if he has done this. So yeah, Juventus relatively poor to discredit the case based on the dates, in my opinion.
Yeah, complete lack of respect, really. And no need for it. And no matter what the result of the trial, Juventus will always be in the wrong for that tweet, in my opinion.
Right, so Jose Mourinho under an extreme amount of pressure. It was in the press that he's going to lose his job regardless of the result against Newcastle at the weekend. And it was looking like it was going to be a horror show at half-time as Newcastle went 2-0 up, But what an inspired performance in the second half of the contest. Manchester United came back from the brink of defeat to win 3-2. Excellent goals. And fantastic that they won one for the manager.
Yeah, absolutely. There isn't a man in football who is treated worse by his board than Jose Mourinho. Manchester United are a complete and utter joke the way they treat their manager. He is ultimately an extremely intelligent man, extremely successful in the sport, and the way that he's treated at Manchester United is a joke. And Gary Neville put it absolutely perfectly when he was working for Sky Sports on the Monday Night Football. He basically said that Manchester United is a joke the way it's run. The leaking information left, right and centre about whether managers are going to be in that job or not. And for me, it's completely out of order. So I personally was delighted when Manchester United went on to win that game. I'm not overly keen on Man United, but I am keen on Jose Mourinho. I think he's a wonderful man and deserves a lot of respect in the sport, which he doesn't often get from the media and supporters alike. So, happy for United. They were awful in the first half, but second half they showed a bit of character and belief. And Paul Pogba was awful first half and absolutely terrific in the second half. The way he can turn it on is an absolute joke.
Yeah, it was a tremendous performance in the second half. 3 quite exceptional goals. Mata's free kick, you knew it was in from the second it left his boot. Some great link-up play between Pogba and Martial for the second, and then a bullet header by Alexis Sanchez for the third. So really good result, and good for Manchester United moving forward. Now what's good for Preston moving forward? You had an absolute thriller against Wigan that ended 3-3. So before we move on to the Wigan game, talk a bit what that was like from a fan's perspective.
Yeah, thriller against Aston Villa midweek. It was absolutely terrific. 3 apiece. Preston awful in the first half, 2-0 down, and then Aston Villa get reduced to 10 men, and North End an inspired comeback, lead 3-2, Aston Villa score again to make it 3-3 with 10 men, and then get a penalty in the last minute which was saved by Chris Maxwell. The Knights had it all. There was a cabbage thrown at Steve Bruce, who eventually lost his job the day after the game against North End. There was a streaker who invaded the playing area after Aston Villa took the lead. And there was incredible melees in that Preston North End away end, which I love. I'm a melee enthusiast. And we certainly had our fair share of that this week, as on Saturday we brushed Wigan to one side. Wigan were utterly abysmal. How they've attained 17 points as the season's gone on is an absolute farce as far as I'm concerned. Who the hell have been playing against? Because Wigan were terrible. Preston put them to the sword, and it was a terrific win. Preston North End are back.
Yep, so terrible start to the season. Form seems to be turning around now. So where do you foresee Preston coming in the table this year after these 2 good performances?
Look, North End are only 9 points off the playoffs. If you're telling me that at Christmas, I'm absolutely delighted that we're still 9 points off the playoffs. I'm saying, look, we have a good January transfer window and we try and push for the playoffs.
Okay. So, Manchester City, Liverpool, 0 apiece. Did you watch the game? What did you think of Mahrez's penalty, etc., etc.?
I did watch the game. The 2 teams cancel each other out. I thought Liverpool looked lethargic, looked tired from their midweek trip to Naples. And weren't playing with their natural flair. They weren't getting on that high press that they're renowned for under Jurgen Klopp. And Manchester City were relatively comfortable in getting that point. I thought at Anfield, and of course, ought to have got all 3. Riyad Mahrez horribly hammering a penalty, blazing a penalty over the top bar, over the bar. Probably comes of it. A cow's arse with a banjo. Riyad Mahrez from the spot, but ultimately I think the 2 teams will be delighted with a point apiece, especially after their midweek antics in Europe. And I think it was a great game. Arsenal impressive over the weekend. They hammered Fulham 5-1 on Sunday. Chelsea 3-0 victory at Southampton. They've had a terrific terrific start to the season too. So yeah, it's looking finely balanced, the Premier League this year. Obviously City ran away with it last year. Hopefully that won't happen this year. Chelsea looking good. I just wish Chelsea had a star striker like Diego Costa, because I think they would be serious challenges for the league. But yeah, Manchester City favourites for me. But also going in the right direction under Unai Emery. 9 straight consecutive victories now for the Gunners. And chance of we've got our Arsenal back in the away end at Craven Cottage on Sunday. So that was terrific to see. Huge relief for those Arsenal supporters who have deserved more in the last sort of 10 years. So happy for them. Hopefully Unai Emery can lead Arsenal to success again.
Right, now let's talk WWE. The Ring found its way to Melbourne over the weekend for the Super Showdown. How many is it again in the Melbourne Cricket Ground?
Normally gets about 100,000.
100,000. These are the sort of numbers that WWE are doing. Huge.
Not quite.
Well, I think it was around 70. But that's still a humongous amount. That's what, 5,000 short of Old Trafford. It's still big numbers. So anyway, humongous main event. You've got The Undertaker and Kane with Triple H and Shawn Michaels for one last time. What a rivalry. The Undertaker and Triple H have gone back and forth for years, and it was a real treat for the Australian wrestling fans. What a match. Undertaker, Triple H, both getting on in age, but what a performance they put in. 2 of the all-time greats went on for a very long time, pulled every last trick out the bag that they had. Triple H eventually won, but what a match it was. Kane and Shawn Michaels also played their part, and it's good to see, although we're getting older now, that our heroes from when we were younger are still the best in the world.
Absolutely. I had to leave early for this, unfortunately, because I was going on North End, so I left prior to the main event. But I've got a quick question. Did The Undertaker take Triple H back to school?
Of course he did, on the top rope.
Superb. That is terrific. Yeah, look, it's fantastic to see our heroes still going at it. But for me, probably time for them both to pack in.
Yeah, so anyway, Triple H eventually won the contest, and then, I don't know if you've seen the image, but the 4 men stood together and sort of bowed towards the crowd, and it was quite iconic, really, to see 4 of the greatest to ever do it stand together. But then it was all ruined as The Undertaker and Kane, the Brothers of Destruction, attacked D-Generation X and left them worse for wear and walked away. So who knows where this story's going now?
WrestleMania for me, tag team, let's get it on.
2 of the greatest tag teams of all time.
Absolutely.
So anyway, co-main, Daniel Bryan versus The Miz, a rivalry that's been going back and forth for many a year. And it was won by Daniel Bryan inside just about 2 minutes. Relatively anticlimactic, but he's won an eliminator, and I believe will be fighting AJ Styles in Saudi Arabia in not too long. The second Saudi Arabian event this year.
Yeah, so good luck to WWE with that. Bryan defeating Miz. I personally want to pick for The Miz, but obviously they want to get Bryan back to the pinnacle of WWE after his absence.
Then it was a tag team match. The Shield, who I know that you felt should be treated slightly differently within the realms of WWE, and I'll let you talk about that. But they faced off against Braun Strowman, Dolph Ziggler, and the chosen one, Drew McIntyre. It's fantastic to see him back. Of course, he was hand-picked by Mr. McMahon himself, so lovely to see Drew fulfilling his potential, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't quite believe to see the Scotsman on stage. He's put a terrific amount of sort of muscles on.
Yeah, that's called substance abuse.
Yeah, well, that's absolutely fine, but he looks terrific. Tanned, a nice breath of hair on his chest.
Yeah, I know you love a man with chest hair.
Absolutely. Attracted to him. Yeah, look, for me, the Shield could be one of the greatest threesomes of all time in WWE.
Interesting.
However...
Erotic?
No, not sexually. But, for me, I don't get why they keep trying to sell them all as singular people. For me, they're a great threesome. However, they don't have the personality to go alone. And for me, I don't think they've been marketed quite right.
Yeah. So, I believe, how long ago was it that the Cruiserweight title went dormant? It must be about 12 years ago now. when Hornswoggle frog splashed Chavo Guerrero to win the title. But it's now back, and I think we were a bit disappointed to see it on the line so high up the card between two relatively unknown superstars in the Australian Buddy Murphy and Cedric Alexander. But boy, were we proven wrong. What a showing from both men.
It's absolutely two high flyers going at it. Huge talents on display, and I was extremely impressed. It was refreshing to see from an Australian and an unbeaten black man who was ultimately beaten in the ring. It was a wonderful affair. One thing I would say though is that cruiserweight belt is disgusting.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It's purple, tacky, and rubbish.
Yeah, the old one was very cool. And belts in general used to be quite cool.
Yeah.
We were discussing this the other day. The World Heavyweight belt used to mean something.
It had an aura about it.
Yeah, it really did. I don't get that anymore.
No.
It's a shame. But anyway, yeah, quite an emotional moment for me. As Adam ruined a huge chunk of my childhood, actually. There was a moment where Buddy Murphy was kicked in the face by Cedric Alexander and a tooth went flying out. And Adam revealed to me that they're not real teeth.
Well, obviously not, because there's a plethora of teeth coming out of people's mouths in every matchup.
When I used to watch WWE, I used to think I'd love to be a superstar, but I don't want to risk my teeth coming out. And still to this day, I just assumed the move's gone wrong. He's actually kicked in, the tooth's gone. So it's quite emotional, actually, for you to reveal that I'm not seeing teeth fly out.
It's just an obscene observation to have.
I was actually a bit hurt.
It's just an extremely bizarre.
And it's going to take a little bit of getting over.
Yeah, well, you'll have to get over it. You're going to a SmackDown soon.
I am quite looking forward to that. But anyway, the Bella Twins and Ronda Rousey predictably defeated the Riot Squad, so not too much to say on that. Then Styles and Samoa Joe, and I was saying this, Samoa Joe has an electrifying jab. He moves extremely well for a big man. He's incredible and he talks brilliantly. The storyline behind this was that AJ Styles doesn't look after his family too well, and Samoa Joe was going to be the new daddy in the Styles household. I believe that he should be the future of the company, and I'm gutted that he was submitted by AJ Styles.
Well, the consensus among real WWE supporters is that AJ Styles is one of the greatest to ever live. I personally don't agree with that.
No, wrong.
But yeah, odd. I personally don't rate Samoa Joe all that much.
He has an excellent southpaw jab.
He's decent.
And he moves well.
I've seen worse WWE superstars, that's for sure.
He's the greatest WWE superstar that wasn't around when we were watching it, in my opinion.
And you know I disagree with that.
Who for? Kevin Owens.
Kevin
Who
Owens
is
wonderful.
useless. But we'll get on to Kevin Owens.
Shinsuke Nakamura's got a wonderful walk on.
A few violins doesn't make a superstar.
It does.
I'm going to have to disagree. But anyway, some Australian sisters defeated Oscar and Naomi. Oscar's career's got a bit weird since she had all that hype behind her.
Yeah, she hasn't lost in about 10 years, hasn't she?
Yeah, now she's losing every other week. Then Owens and Elias sat in the middle of the ring while Elias played a song to 75,000 people in Melbourne, which, when you actually think about it, it was quite cool. It's quite a good gig to have.
It takes bollocks to do that, that's for sure.
Yeah. Then we had Bobby Lashley and the return of John Cena to take them on. And Bobby fought valiantly as he fought off Kevin Owens and Elias to ultimately tagging John Cena, who is, of course, one of the greatest of all time, the 16-time champion of the world. And he dismantled both Kevin Owens and Elias very quickly, very swiftly, and very easily, and finished the contest with his new finishing move, which is a bit weird, to say the least. What did you make of it?
I thought it was extremely odd for two of the all-time greats to be fighting Owens and Elias anyway. But, yeah, the finishing manoeuvre was odd. A few Preston fans out there, it's a bit like Ross Wallace's celebration after scoring at Blackpool. That free kick, he crossed his arms together like an X, and then John Cena punched the person like a stiff right into the face, and then 1, 2, 3. A bit of an anticlimax, really.
Yeah, sort of. Good to see John Cena back. I don't know how many times he can go into the middle of the ring after a return and just tell the WWE Universe that he'll never forget where he came from, but he's done it for the 17th time in Melbourne. Hair A little bit controversial. Not the best haircut I've ever seen, but is what it is. Anyway, Becky Lynch, of course, she's the new WWE woman coming through. She's excellent, the Irish lass kicker. And she did a job on Charlotte Flair, so well done to her. And she's really a future star. And the universe is getting behind her. And then the New Day beat the Bar, which seems to happen on every single pay-per-view.
Just odd.
Moving on to the Arrows, and it's been a long time since we've covered darts on the show. And it's good to get back into it. Now, firstly, we had the Champions League in Brighton just a couple of weeks ago, and it was Gary Anderson and Peter Wright in that particular final. Gary played his semi-final first, and then Peter played second. And you have a slight issue with the construct around the tournament, how Peter Wright got very limited time to prepare for the final. So how would you go about changing that?
Yeah, look, I thought it was just an anticlimax. Peter Wright came through a colossal battle to get to the final to play Gary Anderson, and for me, he didn't have enough time to prepare, and Anderson just brushed him aside after having plenty of time to prepare. But ultimately, I personally think that Anderson is the better player and would have come through the game regardless. And Peter Wright, yet another final, he's got beaten.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about another final now. The Grand Prix of Darts in Dublin was won by the Green Machine, Michael Van Gogh, and he defeated Peter Wright 5-2 in sets, but once again, another final lost. Do you think this is going to happen for Peter Wright? Do you think we're going to see him win a big one? Because it's getting hard to see now.
Yeah, I do. You can't be that talented without winning a big one. And for me, and Wright played some great darts throughout the week in Dublin and got to the final and ultimately came unstuck. But it's an odd format. You know, you've got to double in and then you've got to double out. It's like some odd form of mastermind. I have started, so I will finish, sort of thing. But yeah, so I personally, I'm not that keen on the format. So I think Wright has got a biggie, and I think it could come in Wolverhampton.
Really? So you think it's coming at the Grand Slam?
I don't actually think that, but I think it could come.
Right. Yeah, it's about time Peter Wright wins a big one. I really like Pete, and for whatever reason, things just aren't clicking when he's playing in a final. He can't quite close out a big one. But of course, we all want to see him succeed ultimately because he is just such a nice character.
Absolutely, yeah. A nice bloke who has a Mohican in his middle ages and dances around the stage. Lovely person.
To the entertainment of all the fans watching around the world.
Yeah.
Anyway, so boxing, and it's a truly global event. It's Tyson Fury, it's Deontay Wilder, it's the two most charismatic heavyweights on the planet. It's arguably the two best heavyweights on the planet. It's the two biggest men on the planet. And in regards to heavyweight boxing,
David Price is massive.
yeah, no, but he's not amongst that elite.
Just a really tall person.
In terms of the elite men in the division, you won't find a bigger man than Tyson or Deontay.
I'm inclined to agree with that, yeah.
So anyway, of course, Fury didn't look great in his two comeback fights, but the way he's been talking at these press conferences, I don't know about you, but he's beginning to convince me he can pull this off.
Absolutely, look. Wilder, of course, is the favourite for this. He's been active for years. He's never lost. He hits extremely hard. He's beaten some extremely good opponents. But one string to Tyson's bow, irrespective of whether he's active or not inside the ring, is that he is active outside the ring no matter what. He's a wonderful trash talker. He will be inside Wilder's head come December the 1st, if it is to go ahead on that particular date. And for me, that's a huge advantage. So people are quick to say, oh, Fury's got no chin. He's going to get knocked out by Wilder. He's some sort of boxing god who punches people hard. Of course he is. But Tyson Fury is a trash talker beyond his years. And for me, that is a huge positive in Fury's favour.
He is, and it's interesting because Wilder's an excellent talker himself. He's never been out-talked on the mic until now. Tyson has won all three of those press conferences relatively conclusively. He railed Deontay up in the first one. They had to be split up. He did it again in the second. Once again, security involved. In the third one, Deontay Wilder was actively going for him, looking for punches, looking for shots. This man is a master of mental warfare. Fury is in the head of Deontay Wilder. Can he beat him before he steps in the ring? As a fan of the Furious one, I hope so. If you watched Wilder's interview post press conference with Showtime, he was fidgety, he was riled up, he was talking with emotion. Fury has got to him, and I'm hoping and praying that this makes a difference on the night.
I absolutely hope the same. And yet another Twitter spat is ongoing between Eddie Hearn, that is, and Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury on Sunday night posting a photo of an email sent to him.
I've not seen this. Is this now?
This is currently ongoing as we record this.
Tell me, because I've not seen this.
Basically, Tyson Fury has put on an email he received from Eddie Hearn that starts with private and confidential. Nothing private about putting it on Twitter, Tyson Fury. However, what it does say is, come and work with me. I'll give you £3 million for the first fight back. Obviously, this was sent to him in 2017. And yeah, he's just making a mockery of Eddie Hearn yet again. Hilarious, in my opinion.
Has Eddie Hearn responded to this?
No, he's just put it on Twitter now.
Okay, if you got the whole thing, read it out. If you can find it. Here we go, read this out.
Hi Tyson, private and confidential. It was a pleasure to sit down with you in Monaco. I've been thinking a lot about us working together and I'm very excited. It's a deal that would blow the boxing world right up. Further to our discussions, I outlined below a 3-fight proposal for you to work promotionally with Matchroom and to box on Sky Sports box office. Fight 1, April/May 2018. Opponents we mutually agreed. Purse £3 million. So that is Hearn's offer to Fury, who obviously opted to work with Warren, who Fury has revealed gave him £5 million for his 2 fights, his 2 comeback fights.
Yes, this is basically in response to Eddie Hearn calling Tyson Fury a boring fighter at the post-fight press conference after Joshua and Povetkin. Obviously, Fury railed, not happy, and it was interesting to see actually at that post-fight press conference that they had no intention of fighting Tyson. His name wasn't brought up, but we'll get on to that. So in a huge event, Fury versus Wilder, they've stolen the thunder away from Eddie Hearn, and I think it'll do big buys on both sides of the Atlantic. Fury going into camp in Big Bear in Los Angeles, high altitude, he'll be in the best condition possible, and we wish him the best of luck.
Absolutely.
No man, he's had his fair share of controversy over the past month, and that is Billy Joe Saunders. So for those who have not seen it, he released a video onto his social media where he's in a relatively low-income area. And he finds a woman who obviously is quite vulnerable and has a cocaine addiction. He offers her cocaine and says he'll give it her if she performs a sexual act on his friend. He then says to this woman to slap a man who's in the street and then he'll provide her with the cocaine. Of course, this is disgusting. He also accused the man of doing indecent acts towards youngsters. So if a gang was nearby or whatever and heard this man could have got beaten up. Anything could have happened. This man, of course, hadn't committed these acts. The whole video was a joke in Billy Joe Saunders' mind. It was disgusting. It was dangerous. And Billy Joe deserves all the stick in the world that he's getting for this very distasteful video.
It is, but ultimately we know what BJ Saunders is. He's ultimately a complete head case, but extremely talented head case.
He is. This is why he should be focusing on his boxing and not
agree.
Abusing vulnerable people in the street.
I completely agree, but it comes as no real surprise that he's doing this, does it really? Especially when he's chucking half chickens at Deontay Wilder in Nando's. It's just a normal day for Billy Joe.
It is, but that doesn't mean it should go unpunished.
And I agree with that.
Anyway, yeah, if it couldn't get any more controversial, he then goes on to fail a drugs test conducted by VARD. Now, the substance that is taken is allowed outside of competition, and according to the British Boxing Board of Control, the day of the competition is only on... in competition is only on the day of the fight, so he's got away with it according to their rules. Whether he'll get away with it according to the Athletic State of Massachusetts is another issue. Of course, he's meant to fight Demetrius Andrade in Boston. We don't know whether that'll go ahead or not, and we don't know if Billy Joe has been taking this drug that apparently gives a lot of energy and better fitness to fighters, so it would have helped him, because of course he had fitness issues, or he accused it of just being from a nasal spray that he was taking. So we don't know what the truth is, but Billy Joe's career, after these two incidents in such quick succession, is hanging in the balance at the moment.
It absolutely is, yeah. And if he has knowingly taken these substances in order to enhance his performance, then yes, it's an absolute disgrace. But if he's being genuine about the nasal spray, then a genuine mistake. So for me, that can go unpunished if it is a genuine mistake.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see as to how the courts see it. But anyway, moving on to back to the heavyweights. Anthony Joshua, Alexander Povetkin, Wembley Stadium, 80,000 people, and what a fight it was. I was wrong. I thought Alexander Povetkin was past it. I thought he's 39 years old. He's not looked what he was since he got off the steroids, but he rolled back the years in his last opportunity at the heavyweight crown and gave Anthony Joshua one hell of the fight. Wobbled him on several occasions. As far as I'm concerned, he was up. I had it 5-1, arguably 4-2. I thought the judges' scorecards and the Sky scorecards were corrupt and offensive, really, to say the least. They were really terrible. But Anthony Joshua found his way through the test, found a right hand which laid out Povetkin. So, job well done. What did you make of the fight?
So I thought it was a terrific performance by Povetkin for how long it went on. I completely agree. I had Povetkin up 5-1. And yes, he did rock Joshua. However, what a stoppage it was from Joshua. A terrific way to get Povetkin out of there. And just enhances his reputation to the casual boxing fan. So well done to him.
Yep. In regards to the undercard, Luke Campbell defeated Ivan Mendy in the rematch to win himself another world title shot. David Price, he was in the fight against Sergey Kuzmin, but ultimately quit in the 4th round with an injured bicep. Very sad, because that felt like it could have been David's last opportunity. And Lawrence Okoli bored everybody to sleep as he held Nadia Essex for 12 rounds, where he really should have been disqualified after 3 points deducted.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it was one of the worst fights of all time. And Okoli will never sell any tickets because ultimately he's terrible to watch and he's always involved in real shockers. So, and yeah, he ought to have been disqualified. It was just a complete joke.
Yeah, after the Isaac Chamberlain fight, he was on thin ice, and that could have been the nail in the coffin. Anyway, moving back, Vegas was the home for the biggest fight of the year so far. Canelo Alvarez, Gennady Golovkin took to the ring for a second time. Was Canelo Alvarez on drugs the first time? It looks like that, yes, because he came in this time far thinner, but that improved his performance. He had far more gas in the tank and looked good against Golovkin. Ultimately, I had Golovkin nicking the fight 7-5. It's a shame. I thought he did enough, but it wasn't the worst decision I've ever seen. It was a clogs fight. It more than warrants a rematch, but I'm not sure that's going to happen. As Canelo Alvarez is going to be fighting Rocky Fielding in what could be a mismatch, but I feel that people need to get behind Rocky. I don't think he deserves the stick that he's getting, and he's daring to be great. He's financially securing his family's future, and he's fighting at one of the most iconic venues on the planet. So, are you a little bit riled up about the treatment of Rocky from the UK fans?
I am actually, yeah. Look, it's a terrific fight for Rocky Fielding. If he wins, he's one of the pound-for-pound best, ultimately. And if he loses, there's no disgrace in losing to one of the pound-for-pound best. His cash flow into his bank account will look handsome. In regards to the undercard, David Lemieux iced Gary Spike O'Sullivan in the very first round after a plethora of trash talk between the two men in the build-up. Jaime Munguia, the upcoming world champion from Mexico, possibly the future of Golden Boy Promotions, beat Brandon Cook inside Just Free, and my little lad from Nicaragua, Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez, the 7-foot man from Managua, was back in stunning fashion. He knocked Moises Ventuez out in just 5 rounds. The lad's still got pound-for-pound talent. I'd just like him to drop a weight because he's still a little bit small for that super flyweight weight category. Jeddah
was the home of the World Boxing Super Series Super Middleweight final between George Groves and Callum Smith. That was disgusting, Adam. Adam has just broken wind in our studio. Quite loudly, actually, and it wouldn't surprise me if the microphone picked that up.
Better that one in.
It is, but we're in a confined space here. But anyway, yeah. George Groves, people were worried whether the shoulder would cause problems in this fight for him, but it didn't. Callum Smith proved that, in fact, he is the real deal. He was strong, he was fast, he picked his punches excellently. He broke down and stopped George Groves in superb fashion, and Callum Smith has arrived on the world stage.
Absolutely, yeah. It came as a pretty seismic shock to me, actually. I thought Groves would take the fight relatively comfortably, to be honest, on points. I didn't think it was a mismatch, but I thought it would be a relatively comfortable night's work for George Groves. It wasn't to be. Smith landed some terrific blows on Groves. Landed one particularly in the temple that wobbled him, and then the sickening body shot that sent Groves to the canvas. There were no getting up from that. So yeah, a stylish performance from Smith, and I'm delighted for him. And absolutely gutted for George Groves because he was a fantastic champion.
Yeah, if George Groves does call it a day, then he'll always be remembered as a man who never gave up on his dream. And it took him 4 goes to win a world title, and that is truly inspirational. So never give up. Well done to George Groves if that was the end. Chris Eubank Jr. was the co-main. He took on JJ McDonough, who quit at the end of the 4th. Interesting. Have you heard about the conspiracy behind this event?
I haven't, no.
A lot of people close to the JJ McDonough camp always knew he was going down in the 4th. A betting conspiracy which has been released, and he's in a lot of trouble, is JJ.
So I wish I was known. I wish I was enlightened.
Yeah, but you would have happily taken the bookies for all they're worth.
Of course, and as would you.
I probably would have. Yeah, ultimately. So that's the end of the first series of the World Boxing Super Series. Excellent tournament, excellent product. Moving forward, things they need to sort out. Improve the undercards, which they've done. But they still need to sort out a good, solid UK deal. We're still waiting on that. Today's fight between Nadia Essex and Juan Carlos Payano was streamed on live. And we want an ITV4 to take this up, so we're not paying on box office. And for the casual fan to get into the tournament and buy into what is an excellent construct from Callis Howland and the rest of the gang. So anyway, Nadia Essex, incredible. Just absolutely incredible. Juan Payano, a former world champion, was looking good in the fight. But how on earth Nadia Essex carries dynamite in his 8-stone hands, I will never know. Incredible knockout, and you're picking Nadia Essex to win the whole thing.
Absolutely. This is an extremely small person who is literally cracking people in the skull with concrete slabs. It's an absolute joke how hard this guy punches. He just lays people out. He just lays everyone who comes in front of him. And he's just going to carry on doing it. He's a wrecking ball, an oriental wrecking ball that cannot be stopped. This guy wins quite comfortable.
I think he wins, but thank God he's got some excellent competition. Ryan Burnett, Manuel Rodriguez, Zolani Tete. It's a superb tournament, this. 4 men who are in and around that pound-for-pound listing. I think most people would probably have an OUE in and around the top 5 now. But Zolani, Ryan, Emmanuel, they're all creeping in as well. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how this tournament progresses. Zolani's actually in action next weekend in Russia, so he should make a statement. Also, in regards to the super lightweights, Keel Relic beat Edward Trojanowski on a 12-round decision to retain his WBA title. He moves on to the second round. He'll be taking on the winner of Regis Prograis and Terry Turbo Flanagan. I'm not sure if we'll do another podcast before that event or not, but if we don't, I just want to give a massive good luck to Turbo. One of our favourite fighters on this show. We love him. And I truly believe that he can outsize Regis Prograis and pull off a huge upset in New Orleans, so good luck to him.
It would be a seismic shock, however, a shock that we'd gratefully receive.
Yeah. Some slightly saddening news for the boxing world. One of the great trainers from Wales has passed away, unfortunately. The father of Joe Calzaghe, Enzo Calzaghe. Look, it's one thing conquering the world. It's another thing conquering the world with your son. That is what dreams are made of. And I think from the whole boxing world, we just say a huge rest in peace to one of the all-time greats.
Absolutely, rest in peace.
Yeah. HBO are finally out of boxing. 45 years of being the prime time viewing for boxing fans. They've produced some excellent fighters. The Mayweathers, the Canelos, the Golovkins, the Mike Tysons, Evander Holyfield, Roy Jones Jr. They've all performed on that network. And it's sad to say goodbye to a platform that brought so many great memories to the boxing fans. But moving on to a new platform, DAZN, Eddie Hearn's new streaming outlet. The first show decent, Jesse Vargas, the main event. He took on Delorme in what was a decent fight, but ultimately ended as a draw, as Delorme put Vargas down in the last round to ruin Eddie Hearn's sparkle in the first live show. But still a good fight, so that's a positive. Jarrell Miller dismantled Thomas Adamek, who he horrifically oversized by 90 pounds. Jarrell weighing in at 317 pounds, which I believe is around 23 stone. Huge man. Huge man.
Only Rick Waller could have stopped him.
Only Rick Waller, the pop idol star. Great knowledge.
Thank you.
That's before Gareth Gates and Will Young as well. So the fact that you know that name's actually incredible.
And rest in peace to those two.
Neither's dead. Neither's dead.
I was thinking of Stephen Gately. That's a good question, actually. Where were you when Stephen Gately died?
I don't know, but I remember seeing it on Sky News in the kitchen.
So you were in the kitchen?
Well, I don't... Yeah, probably. I can't remember if that was the exact moment, but I remember watching it on the news.
Awfully sad. I was at Leisure Lakes.
Yeah. And yeah. Yeah. It has no relevance to the conversation. So moving on. Callum Johnson, Arthur Beterbiev. I quietly fancied Callum Johnson from the moment this fight was announced. I know Arthur Beterbiev's a monster and I know he punches very hard, but so does the man from Boston, England. And Callum Johnson gave it a hell of a go. He was knocked down in the first, but rallied in the second to knock down the ferocious Russian. Unfortunately, he couldn't quite secure that victory. He was knocked out in the fourth, but he has announced himself on the world stage. And I'm sure his late father will be looking down proud.
Absolutely. A wonderful effort from the palest man on earth.
Yeah.
Even paler than Sheamus.
No, Sheamus. As John Cena said at Night of Champions 2010, is 5% milk.
And also a human jar of mayonnaise.
Yep. He lost that night. And a 6-pack challenge to Randy Orton. Other men featured in the contest: Wade Barrett, Edge, Chris Jericho, John Cena. Anyway, moving on. Unlucky for Gavin McDonnell, he also gave it a huge go against Daniel Roman, but ultimately was a little bit outclassed. But good luck for Gavin, he gave it a real go when he needed to. We've always been huge supporters of Lucas Big Daddy Brown on the show. He bounced back from the awful defeat to Dylan White, where he was laid out cold, by laying out the 7'1" Julius Long in Australia on the Gold Coast. So hopefully Big Daddy Brown gets a few decent paydays out in ours. That's how we'd like to see him finish his career.
Julius Long is 7 foot tall. Just a remarkable name.
As in long and tall.
When Miranda Hart shops, actually. Big and tall.
I don't think she's quite 7'1", but yeah, she's a relatively lanky woman. Probably the lankiest woman on television.
I won't say she's lanky, I just say she's mammoth. Just a really tall woman.
How tall are we talking?
I reckon she's about 6'6", mate.
Actually, about 6'4". Luke, how tall is she?
Are you not listening?
No. You need to listen to the show. We have a technical producer here who doesn't listen to the show.
Miranda Hart is, according to my Google, 6'1".
6'1", wow.
Wow, she is huge.
So she stands, what am I, 5'9.5", 12. She's about 3.5 inches bigger than me.
She's still taller than David Hay.
And she's not. David Hay's 6'2".
Exactly the same. As 6'1", just an inch.
You're 6'1", aren't you?
I don't know, just a shade over 6 foot. So 6'1".
So Miranda and you would stand toe to toe.
Yeah. Tits to tits.
Yeah, yours probably slightly bigger than hers. But I think she'd probably win the battle. I've got to be honest.
I'd like to deliver an uppercut.
Jorge, please do not uppercut one of Britain's favourite stars. But anyway, Jorge Linares was back over the course of the last couple of weeks. It's a shame as he's moved up to a super lightweight and he's not in the World Boxing Super Series. So a bit of a shame, but it is what it is. Falling out a bit of Jorge because he's got himself a man bun, and that's never good.
It's not, but all the stars have them in this day and age. All the stars.
Yeah, Aaron Chalmers included.
And he is a combat star now.
Anyway, he really is. He's just sorted his contract issues out with Bama, so he'll be working full-time for Bellator. So good luck to the Geordie Shore star.
A remarkable talent, a remarkable athlete, and remarkable punching power.
Yep, so the boxing conversation finishes in Leicester. O'Hara Davis was defeated by Jack Catterall in a relatively non-event. It never quite caught fire, unfortunately, but Jack, the classier man, did just about enough to win. Co-main, Daniel Dubois, Kevin Johnson. A lot of people criticising young Daniel for going the distance for only 21, Daniel, for going the distance for the very first time. But ultimately, Kevin Johnson is a man who in his last fight took Andy Ruiz the distance. The fight before that, it was Kubrat Pulev, as well as Vitaly Klitschko, Derek Chisora, Tyson Fury. He's not an easy man to stop. He's still really defensively aware. So I think it's too early to just discredit Daniel Dubois. I really do.
Having said that, though, he was crawling out the ring against Anthony Joshua and fell to about 48 when he fought Anthony Joshua. So how old is Kevin Johnson now? About 56.
Luke, Google, Kevin Johnson age. But to be fair, Kevin Johnson's arm did break in half in the first round of the Anthony Joshua fight, so he physically couldn't defend himself.
Well, that's an interesting point. However...
39? Crap, no! No. The Anthony Joshua fight was about 5 years ago, and he was about 47 then.
Times it by 2. He's about 68. He's the next Luis Ortiz.
He's been around forever, Kevin Johnson. He's been main eventing. He's been losing at a high level for about 27 years, Kevin Johnson.
Just remarkable. And rest in peace to him.
Not dead again. You've got to... It's becoming a recurring thing today.
He probably will die.
Maybe one day.
At some point.
Well, actually, he will definitely die at some point if he keeps going the distance with these young stars. Anyway, I know you want to talk a bit about the racing over the weekend, so give our racing fans some talk.
Yeah, just a...
I don't know what to say. I'm leaving.
That sounded really sexual. A terrific Arc de la Triomphe on its return to Paris Longchamp.
Lovely pronunciation, by the way.
Thank you. Paris Longchamp played host to an absolutely incredible arc. It was wonderful. Enable, the Gosden filly, the favourite, a shade of odds on, 10 to 11. But Haggis had its say as well. He had Sea of Class, who was a sea of class. James Doyle held up Sea of Class in rear after a shocking draw. Might as well have been drawn on the car park. However, James Doyle just drifted over and settled in the rear and came flashing home, but ultimately it wasn't enough to defeat the reigning Arc champion and two-time Arc champion now in Enable, the Gosden filly, Tory on board, his 6th Arc. It was a wonderful renewal of the race, and roll on next year. It promises to be a terrific battle between Sea of Class and Enable. Two wonder fillies, two really quick animals running to finishing lines. It is gonna be a cracker. At the next flat season, watch out for Enable and Sea of Class, James, because it will just be remarkable. It'll be like Usain Bolt against Linford Christie.
I'm sure to keep an eye out for Usain Bolt versus the I'm a Celebrity star in Linford.
They both actually won Olympic gold.
What did
100
Linford
metres.
win it? Was he 100 metres, Linford?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
I think so. A rapid star. A bit like Enable and Sea of Class. Absolutely fantastic to see. Oh yeah, and Britain have won yet another Arc. The French must be seething as we take our best horses over there and we beat their best. Just hilarious. Great to watch. Andre Fabre tonight will be livid. A name that I know is close to home with you, James.
Is it close to home with me, I thought?
Did you not name your goldfish after Andre Fabre?
I do not know who Andre Fabre is. So, no.
He's the most prolific trainer in French horse racing history.
What did I name my goldfish? Stanley? Jeeves?
After the Stanley Arms?
No. Mum had 5 goldfish called Stanley as a child. They all died. So, obviously, I carried that tradition forward in naming my goldfish Stanley.
Admirable.
It is. I'm a good person, really.
I don't agree with that. But let's move on.
So anyway, I can't believe it. She's been at it again after her boogieing down in Africa. She took to the stage, and this time to Dancing Queen.
You are the dancing queen.
Theresa May strutted her stuff on stage in front of the world. What is politics? I'm completely lost now as to what the world is. What is happening? What is going on?
Theresa May is a skeleton who is being puppeted from above. There is somebody above Theresa May controlling her every move.
Is it like a Punch and Judy type thing?
Yeah, with strings. She's a joke. She cannot dance, and she's not very good at her job. However, let's not get political on this sports podcast.
No, let's not. But yeah, yeah. She just looks. Look, it's a bit of banter, and I think she's going for the Boris Johnson effect. You know, he gets away with a lot by being relatively charismatic, but it's just weird. Alongside running through the fields of wheat, and the farmer's not liking that. I don't think she's portraying the image that she wants.
Unfortunately, she's got about as much charisma as a freckle on my face.
You have one freckle on your face.
Thank you.
A lonely freckle.
Not sexual.
Wasn't meant to be. And if you're wondering why it's got a bit quiet, I just can't put into words what is going on with the Prime Minister of our country. And the Tories are in even more controversy this week. Well, not necessarily the Tories, but a few uni students whose UCAS points seem to be going through the roof. A few students have been wearing very provocative clothing with very mean messages written on the front. Messages that are abusive towards the NHS and the working class. Disgusting. Have you seen it? What do you think?
I have seen it. It comes as no surprise. Students are just weird. And yes, we are one of them.
We are students.
And we're weird, I suppose.
Yeah.
Oh my God, breaking news. John Terry's retired from football.
Wow.
We bring news first fast now on the podcast. And yes, you're probably listening to this about a week after John Terry's announced his retirement. However,
but we were live. We were live. We knew before everyone else.
As Martin Tyler once said, and it's live.
It really is. So anyway, let's talk Nadia Essex. Now, Adam, did you ever get into Celebs Go Dating?
No.
No, right. So for those who don't know the context, the show basically consists of two dating experts, Nadia Essex and Eden. Man and woman, they look through all the possible things that people can be compatible with and then pair them off together. It's well on the show. You've got Tom, who's the feminine receptionist who provides a bit of charisma and laughs to this show. Anyway, Nadia and Eden haven't been getting along as of late, and this has got extremely interesting as Nadia has been busted for setting up fake accounts to troll Eden on Twitter. Okay, so these are the sort of things that have been she's been posting off other people's accounts after Eden left the show. Good riddance. Cheating on his girlfriend was girls young enough to be his daughter. Disgraceful. Need to take his place. Please step up. Come on, Tom. We all love you. And Nadia at Nadia Essex. Make it happen. So she's tweeting at herself. One door closes, another one opens at Lady Nadia Essex. You make the show, Eden contributes nothing. The whole world thinks he was gay. 50-year-old sleeping with young girls, sick. Keep your head up, Nads. So this woman is posting messages to herself via fake accounts to ruin the name of her former co-host. Very, very bizarre.
Yeah, she's just coming across like a extremely troubled human being, and for that she needs help.
But also sacking, because it's relatively disgusting.
It is wrong, but also help. She needs help.
Yeah, now I'm livid with you because I wanted to discuss X on the Beach in this section of the show, but you've not been watching it.
No, I've watched one episode and haven't watched the rest. However, do plan to watch the rest, and therefore I've put a ban on X on the Beach for this week. So we're going to move on to Mike the Situation.
Mike the Situation from the Jersey Shore has been sentenced to 8 months inside for tax evasion. Real shame. But he was facing about 40 years, I think, so I think 8 months he'll take relatively happily. Now, Adam, I know you're a big Geordie Shore fan, I believe. Have you ever seen the Jersey Shore?
I haven't, no.
Right, so currently they are back. Of course, they paved the way for all these reality shows like your Geordie Shores, your Only Wears Essexes, Made in Chelsea, etc., etc. They've come back now, though, and they're in the mid-30s, and they're doing a new show together. Very weird concept, but quite enjoyable. They're dealing with more real-life scenarios, such as kids and tax evasion. So weird, but of course, big Geordie Shore fan. Do you miss the show? What it used to be back in the day with your Jameses, your Jays, your Rickies, your Vickies, your Charlottes, etc.
Yeah, I used to really enjoy Geordie Shore, but I suppose we don't enjoy it as much because to a certain extent, we've become slightly more mature. And that's quite sad in itself.
It is, but at the same time, it just feels far too scripted nowadays. I still like the organic product that it used to be.
Yeah, I completely agree. Look, I'd find sadness in the fact that I don't watch Geordie Shore anymore if the summit of watching it wasn't so high.
So anyway, the first man to receive a bionic penis has lost his virginity to a sex worker at the age of 40. So I just wanted to give a big congratulations out to the man on finally getting that over the line.
An absolutely terrific story. And
It is. It really is. 39 years without his sexual organ. Now he's got it. Now he's using it. So well done to him.
I sometimes wonder where the hell you find these stories.
That was on This Morning. There's a lot of weird things on This Morning.
Did he get his bionic penis out?
He didn't get it out, but they showed a diagram of what it looks like. I think he has to manually pump it up.
What does it look like?
It's just robotic, but according to the sex worker who was on the show with him, it's very nice.
Does it look like a penis?
I've not seen the real thing. It's just sort of a picture that they showed us.
Can he ejaculate?
I don't believe so.
When does he know when to stop?
Presumably when she tells him.
Otherwise it's rape. Good thinking.
Always on the ball. Anyway, can you say a few words about Tiger Woods and this exceptional comeback that he produced this month?
Tiger Woods is back as one of the best golfers on the planet. Won his first tour event for years, and unfortunately, fortunately for us, wasn't brilliant in the Ryder Cup, but Europe were, and Fleetwood and Molinari, otherwise known as Mollywood, were absolutely scintillating. They played the golf of their life. They won every single game as a twosome, as a pair, and they ultimately guided Europe to a relatively comfortable success in the end. So yeah, the whole of Europe, not politically, was absolutely delighted with one another, having some really nice times together. Great memories formed in France again. However, in the US team, egos couldn't be left at the door. Reed and Spieth couldn't play together, and Johnson and Brooks Koepka, who are supposed to be really good pals, apparently had a bit of a falling out after the Ryder Cup. So ego is a big issue in the United States team, and Europe were able to leave their egos at the door and go out and play some wonderful golf together, and that's what they did, and won the Ryder Cup.
So anyway, I'm not overly into or watch Doctor Who, haven't in a very long time, but I believe it's back tonight with a female Doctor. Very interesting. So obviously this is part of this PC movement. What do you think about this? Are we going a bit too far? Why do we need to change characters?
I don't like Doctor Who.
No, I'm not saying you do. I don't watch it either. But I'm saying, are we going too far, like changing the gender of characters?
No, I don't think so. I think James Bond can be black. I think it could also be a woman.
You would like James Bond to be a woman?
I think James Bond has potential to be a woman.
James Bond.
Why can't they just say that James Bond is a code name?
Because his name is literally James Bond.
It might not be James Bond though.
But we've gone off this for however long James Bond has been going.
It could be Albert Sweetnam. However, his code name is James Bond, and that's how he goes in the world of spy industry.
Albert Sweetnam.
Well, obviously made that up because your name is James Sweetnam. And
I'm surprised Albert was your go-to.
Well, Albert's just a normal name. Yeah, of course it can be a black and female James Bond. Could actually be a black female James Bond. It wouldn't bother me one bit. So PC, no. I just think it's a normal progression.
I think we're going a bit too far. I don't think everything needs to change away from what it is. Just keep things as they are. I'm not campaigning for Barry Poppins, so I don't think we need a female Doctor. Just keep characters how they are. It's not offensive.
Well, what if the female is the best actor to play the role?
She's not, because
Why?
the character is male.
James.
It works both ways.
No, I'm
It's
sorry,
stupid.
James.
This is ridiculous.
It could just be code names. I don't get your problem with it.
What are you talking about? Code names? You can't just invent code names for people and change the entire construct of a TV show or
I'm sorry,
whatever.
but there's ways around having to have gender equality. I'm a big advocate.
This
of
is
gender
nothing to do with
equality.
gender
It is.
equality. This is going
It
too
is.
far.
No.
It is. You're changing characters.
This is you being sexist.
It's not remotely
It
me being
is.
sexist.
It
It's
is.
changing a character to suit a PC movement.
So, not necessarily. The actor or the actress could be the best to fit that role, and ultimately she probably is. Hence why
No,
she's
they've
got it.
decided to go for a female. So they've gone specifically for females.
So I don't see why it can't be a female.
Because the character's a male. The character's
It has
literally
been
a
a male
male.
in the past.
No, it's always been a male.
Yeah. So it has been.
So
a
you
male
don't
in the
need
past.
to change it. You don't need to change
no,
female characters to
but-
men. You don't need to change male characters. You don't need to change everything to suit a PC movement.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. However, if the actress is the best person for the role, then why shouldn't she do it?
Because it's not about being the best person for the role. She's got it because she's a woman.
And if she's the best person for the role, then that's fine.
But she's not the best person for the role.
So you're saying that there's a man out there who's better for the role?
Yeah, there's multiple men.
I think that's a bit sexist.
It's not sexist. It's the best actor for a male character is a male. They have gone for a female purely to suit a movement. They don't need to change characters.
I personally
Doctor is
haven't
a
got
man.
an issue with it at all.
But
And
you-
to be honest, if James Bond was female, wouldn't have a problem, and I certainly don't have a problem with a Doctor who was
Why would
female.
Why would James be a female?
Well, I personally think that James Bond could well easily be a code name because he's a
So
spy.
you want to change the construct of a film to suit a PC movement, effectively?
I don't.
You want to
but-
change the character?
I don't. But if the
You do.
actress,
You're changing the character.
I don't, because if the actress is the best person to play James Bond, is better than a male to do it, then yeah,
But
it should be. A
it's
code
very
name.
unlikely you're going to find a female who's better at playing a male than all the successful male actors in the world.
However, what I'm saying is that it might not have to be a male character,
But James Bond is a male.
and what I'm saying is it could be a code name.
But
That's
it's
all I'm
not
saying.
no. But we have a storyline
How do we know it's not a code name? We don't know,
because his name is James Bond.
and we don't know that it's not a code name. We're just not told
So why would a female have a male code name?
because that's
So
just a
basi-
code name.
It's not a code name. His name is James Bond. That is the character. You are trying to change a character to suit a movement.
No,
So you're
the
changing it from his
character
name
is-
into a code name
is
to
James
suit
Bond.
a movement.
The character is James Bond. However, that doesn't mean that it's not a code name because we're not told.
Well, I thought his name is just James Bond. We've
Yeah.
never been.
However, it could
It's
be a
never
code name,
been a
James
code.
Bond.
So you want to change it from in his name into a code name
We don't know
to make
that-
it a female.
We don't know that it's actually his name, so we're going nowhere here. We're just loggerheads. Imagine two fingers pressing together against each other. That is this debate
This is-
currently.
It isn't. It's you playing devil's advocate, and you've scraped a weird argument together
I haven't scraped
based
away
on nothing.
I haven't.
You want to change a character.
I don't want to change a character. All I've said is, if a female is the best person to play James Bond, there's ways
that's
around
the
it.
issue. That's the issue, though. To play James Bond, the male James Bond.
It might not be male because
Because you want to change
so we're
it.
back
It's
to
not.
loggerheads.
No,
again.
there's no code name. This is something you've made up and fictionalized.
So we don't know there's not a code name.
When has it ever been a code name? Any mention of a code name? This is something.
Well, when has there ever
this
been
is
a mention that
something-
his name is genuinely James Bond?
Google a character and you'll find the
Look.
name James Bond.
But James, you don't understand what I'm telling you.
No, I do understand.
Which is fine.
It's a weird argument that
It's
you've
fine.
scraped together.
It's not a
It
genuine
is.
argument.
You're trying to change a character into
It's
a woman
my-
to suit this movement.
It's my genuine opinion.
It's not. You've just played devil's advocate, and you've got a really weird way around of doing it.
That's one of my life. It's my genuine opinion.
It's not.
And I have spoken to people who I have worked with about this particular issue.
You've spoken about female James Bond.
I've spoken about James Bond and the way forward because this is a relatively in sort of debate currently. That's why I've had this debate.
I don't think it's ever been
and
mentioned.
I've come to this conclusion.
We've thought
that's my opinion. No, not with you. With other people.
With James Bond. No, there's been this issue around having a black James Bond.
Yeah.
But there's never been this issue around having a. It's never been brought up about having a female. You're currently just wanting.
It has been brought up.
You're currently wanting just to change your character.
It has been brought up.
And your way around it is inventing this code name.
So we don't know that it's not code name. So.
Yeah, you can say that with literally anything. We could then change Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. We can change.
Never watched the film.
It doesn't matter. The Bourne films, you could change them and just say code names. You can't just put code names in every spy films and then look to change them all to suit this agenda.
We don't know that his name is actually James Bond.
Right, I've just given the thing to dismantle that, but we'll move on. Anyway, you have got a huge trip coming up to Sri Lanka. So you've got any words to say about that?
England take on Sri Lanka in a test series. And I'm quite likely to be going. Exciting times, a dream come true for me.
Tell us a little bit about your trip, how you're getting there.
Flying by aeroplane.
On your own, I believe.
On my own to Mumbai, then on to Colombo, and back from Colombo directly coming home.
Tremendous. Hope you have a lovely time, and we may or may not talk about this in there, depending on when you go and when we record, really. But yeah, huge good luck to Shale, the American gangster's son, and this weekend at Bellator. Really hope he makes the final of the World Grand Prix. Good luck to him. To play us out, too much fun.
Blue lights flashing in my rear view. The sheriff said, boy, should've known it was you. You got 14 people in the back of this truck. I warned you twice and now I'm riding you up. Said, officer, what have I done? Smiled and said, boy, you're having too much fun. Too much fun, what's that mean? It's like too much money. There's no such thing. It's like a girl too pretty with too much class, being too lucky, a car too fast. No matter what they say I've done, I ain't never had too much fun. There was a fight Friday night at the Stumbled Inn. Me and old Harley just had to join in. Next thing you know, we were both seeing stars. They threw us out and closed down the bar. I said, long branches open, the night's still young. We ain't never had